We're going to be using the mini ball in this session. So this mini ball is partially deflated. I've just let a touch of air out of it. One of the reasons why is because then when it's left on the mat, it's not going to roll away from me. But also it absorbs a certain amount of weight from your body when it has that little bit of air out of it. Have that beside you, ready and waiting, and then bring yourself down to lay. We're going to open, just connecting into the back of the body with our rocking movement. So head cushions, if you want them, finding yourself down on your back. Now, great to draw a comparison. So rather than launching straight into movement, with your legs bent and your arms resting beside you, notice what you have. So you're absorbing the position of the head against the floor or your cushion. You're absorbing the connection of the shoulder blades, the ribs, if you can feel their contact with the floor. Maybe the lower back is completely down. Maybe you notice a different side to side as you head towards the pelvis. And then if we're going to get a broader sense of how the torso is connecting, then the way to do that is to begin to transfer weight of the body side to side. So start to allow the weight to be poured left and right, all torso led. To help, you could place the hands on the body. That really is the side that is dropping back. And actually it's quite then obvious as to whether the ribs especially are trying to hold up. So you are always wanting to have this sense of falling into the back of yourself as you're moving. And as I mentioned, with it being torso-led, it's the transference of weight through the main body, which in turn will take the pelvis and the legs and the feet over onto their side as well. But could this just be about you feeling and finding the back of you, but the outer part of the back? They're in contact with the floor, having that heaviness as you switch through to the opposite side each time. A breath out can be helpful. Take your time. Keep asking yourself the question, what is moving first? Is it in fact coming from the center of me? Or am I mistakenly swaying my legs side to side, and that in turn is taking me over? You might find there's a tiny bit of rotation here, but it really is utilizing the curves in the back of you. It's rocking onto them and rocking back. If you settle here for a moment and feel free to continue with any of these movements. If they're enjoyable to you, you like them, it's taking you a while to settle into them. So there, just notice what you have in comparison to your initial setup. The breadth across the body, the heaviness into the ground. And then if you've had a head cushion or a towel behind you supporting, let's take that away and rest the head onto the floor for the first time. And then what we're going to do is take the mini ball, and the mini ball is going to come between the shoulder blades on the mat behind us. So you will need to roll yourself up to take it there. And then using your hands to guide you back, can you feel the middle of the blades And so that there's not strain through the front of the head, you're going to interlace your fingers, have your thumbs pointing downwards, and just get accustomed to that unusual, irregular, mobile prop there between the shoulder blades. Now, just as we're setting up, we're going to begin to move the pelvis just in a small range, but tipping it towards and away from the rib cage. This is going to establish where perhaps you may have been starting, but it's also going to help you zoom in and really sense the sacrum and its position against the floor. Now, we needn't be in this huge tilt and holding on tight towards the ribs, but we certainly want to be aware equally of having more of a pronounced extended lower spine. So I'd like you to find somewhere where it feels comfortable for you and you have a decent surface area to really tune into, because through the pelvis and in turn the lower back, you're going to look to maintain this position in the lower half of the body. And then, can you maintain the organisation? Take a breath in, and as you do so, just gently creating length with the cupped hands through the back of the head and the neck. The gaze is going to start to move upwards towards the ceiling. You could here widen the elbows. Just keep checking in with the middle of the pelvis. And as you breathe out, begin to narrow through the elbows. Gently send the lower back ribs backwards, and the body will end up back up in its starting position. You're taking your inhale. As you move, you're opening the space between the sternum and the face, without overly lifting the chin and without developing the curve through the lower back. As you breathe out, having opened the elbows, if that feels nice for you, you'll narrow them, send the back ribs back, and they may very well feel like they're just towards the bottom of the ball there, so you could utilize the ball. Inhaling. I'm going to keep my elbows narrow. Notice how the sternum is moving upwards. As you breathe out, back ribs push back. Feel free to continue to widen the elbows, but once more, it depends how it feels for you. There's a spread through the front ribs. And as you exhale, back you come to your starting position. From there, the ball is going to come away. It's now going to head between the legs. And once more, you're going to find yourself on your back. I'm going to bring the feet together and then just take a toes apart, heels into line. That is more to address. Do my big toe knuckles feel like they're touching, ankle bones feel like they're touching. I think that's so, and then now the legs are working alongside each other. So for me, with the mini ball, between the knees is working, sort of coming into mid-thigh. Depending on how deflated the ball is, you might find that the ball needs to come up much higher up towards the inner seams, but wherever it is there, it's helping to unify the pelvis each side. So we're going to use that as we start to move into bridging. Now, as you breathe out, stand into the feet, hover the pelvis and begin to tilt the pelvis back towards the rib cage. The knees are reaching forwards and away from you. You'll take a breath in. And as you breathe out and sigh, keep dropping through the center as if you've sent your back ribs back into the ball and they've helped lengthen the spine once more to bring you back to your starting position. As you breathe out, standing, letting go through the upper half of the body. As you exhale, soften and return. Up at the top of the bridge here, with the feeling of spread toes and awareness of the balls of the feet, you're going to begin to lift and lower the heels. We're going to look to take 4 of these in total. The heels are lifting at the same time. And as the heels drop for the 4th, again, sighing through the middle of the body, just moving back into its flexed position before it continues to drop, unravels, and may very well feel like it lengthens once more. Breathing out, sighing and softening, tilting and peeling. At the top, breath in for a lift and out for a lower. Notice how the hips are looking to stay up. And last one. Now heels lower downwards here, and we are also softening and returning through the spine to land. We'll head into some arm arcs here. Breath in to reach the arms backwards and out to return them. See how this feels for you as a movement. Much more about the length created down the side of the body from the fingertips. And that awareness of the shoulder blades moving always. So we're not going to fix our blades, we're going to allow them to move. Last one. Noticing any large changes of contact of the front of the body and the back of the body against the floor. So wide through the chest as we move into our open and close. Your choice of breath pattern. Here I've opted for a breath out as the arms open and an in for the return. Start to change the angle here. So how would it feel for the arms to fall and then be high? Just notice. So heading into a high V, but the palms are staying up. And then your last one, however you want to finish there. That's going to take us into book openings. So if you bring yourself onto your side, grab your head cushions, your knees will be bent and your arms will be extended out in front of you. Just needing a little bit extra support resting on this shoulder here. So I've gone a little bit higher arm coming all the way underneath me. And then breathing out and opening the gaze to the ceiling. How's this front of the shoulder already? Could it feel like it is open? It's dropped away from the ear, and it continues to do so as you're heading round. Breath in, and as you breathe out, bringing yourself back to your starting position. So if you experience that in the lower half of the legs, the knees are coming away from the floor, preempt it, anticipate its movement. And as you're breathing out and coming back, gently begin to push the knees down into the floor. As more of a preventative measure, as opposed to reacting when it's a little too late to do so. The exhale helps, so send that exhale down to the legs. And then breathing out and bringing yourself back to your starting position. Head over to the other side. Always good just to check in here. How does this feel? Cushion-wise, shoulder-wise, leg-wise. Good organisation. And then inhale. As you exhale, opening the arm to the ceiling. Again, checking in with the shoulder. Is the front of it already pushing towards the back of the room? Could it be that not only does it need to drop away from the ear for you, you also need to rotate the upper arm bone outwards as it's coming round. And once more, heavy through the legs. Breath in. And as you breathe out, use the breath to help bring you back to your starting position. Exhale. Inhale when you're open. And exhale to close. Last one. We are heading onto our back, so we're going to move into some dead bugs. But we're looking at repetitively lifting one leg up and down. There's a few things to rearrange here. So you could come onto your single head cushion once more if you wanted to. You want the ball on the floor, and initially you're going to place it just between the feet. So come down so we can just look at organising the body to begin with. Head supported or not. And then the ball is going to go under one of your feet. Now, despite one of your feet being lifted, you are looking to have this sense of still maintaining a centered sacrum. So be aware of huge discrepancy between the balance of the pelvis. Check in with where you're resting the remainder of the body. A little bit of space for the lower back, noticing where the lower ribs are as well. And then as you start to connect downwards with the foot that's on the ball, you're going to float one knee to the ceiling. Take a breath in with the leg raised there. And as you breathe out, can it find itself back down on the floor? So this is really about your ability to use one leg and the pelvis in a stabilizing way, a supportive role. You exhale. There may very well feel like there's some recruitment via the back of the leg as well. And as this foot comes down towards the floor and leaves the floor once more, see whether you can maintain your organization. So the action of this hip coming into a deeper flexed position and then moving back out to more of an extended position doesn't alter your supportive side. You could, depending on how you get on, take the arms up to the ceiling. Last one. Arms can relax down. The ball is heading over to come underneath the other foot. Yes, it's going to move. And you're going to look to control that. But before you start to move, you're looking at finding some balance here. So awareness, have some feedback through your own hands if you want to, just to figure that out. And then as you're breathing out, pelvis and foot on the ball, just connecting that little bit more. And then leg returning. So inhaling with the leg at the top, and then exhaling to bring the leg back down again. Notice how it is. Might feel quite different to your first side. We're not trying to keep the leg still, so stability isn't stillness. Stability is this constant negotiation really between the floor and our bodies and how we're arranging our bodies. Of course, on this surface that is movable. Arms can come off as an option as you take your arms to the ceiling. Just check in there with the shoulder blades. If they can spread themselves, then you manage to maintain this feeling of breadth across the back. And last one. And relax down there. The ball is heading back up between the knees. So a similar place in which you had it before, but before we get there, take any head cushions away. You're going to find the back of the body on the floor, float one knee to the ceiling, doesn't matter which leg you chose first, take a breath in. As you breathe out, you're also going to take the other leg up towards the ceiling. The ball is heading back towards the knees, as I mentioned, and you're going to interlace your fingers and take them behind your head. So you'll take a breath in here, and as you breathe out, you're lengthening through the back of the body. The back ribs are heading down towards the floor, and as you inhale, you'll lay yourself back down again. there is, of course, an option to have the feet down on the floor instead of having them raised. If you want to switch, please take the ball away so you can bring the legs separately down onto the mat. And inhale there. Exhale. Send the back ribs back. As you curl up next, you're staying up. You're going to reach the arms forward and hold on to the back of the legs. And then as you breathe out, the legs could move forward. You're rolling the pelvis forwards as well to bring you up into your seated position with your bent legs. Now, if that doesn't quite work out for you, bring yourself onto your side. Remember, you can be putting your little cushions behind your lower back just to help you as the lower back begins to mobilize a little bit more. Take a breath in. The legs are moving forwards and away from you, tilting, spreading. Balls of the feet coming in, and that's you on your back. Take a breath in. Same approach. Legs will go forwards, back ribs push back, pelvis rolls forwards. You're maintaining your curve, and then you're up into your sitting tall position. And pause when you're up there. You can take all of those props away that we just used and grab something to sit on, whether that be a pile of books, whether it be a block. You could also fold your mat up. We're going to come into a long sit and we're going to look at spine stretch and spine twist. So your long sit would have you with your legs straight out in front of you, as you know. Even if you are up on a block, there's no reason why initially you couldn't have that softness at the backs of the knees if you wanted to. Let's see how it feels when you get here. Sometimes before we start the assisted roll-up, you also have that opportunity to find the sit bones. So you could rock from side to side just to feel those, especially if you know sometimes you have more of a bias to sit on one side over the other. And really, it's exactly the same as the rocking movement you opened with, laying on your back and just feeling and finding the back of you. So a little bit more awareness down here with the sit bones, just sort of picking up on how that feels overall. You could have your fingers down or bring them down onto the mat at any time. Otherwise, arms are going to go out and forwards. As you breathe out, lower the gaze. The back ribs are heading backwards, and we're rounding the body up and over. Breath in will unravel you and bring you back up into your seated position. Exhaling, lowering. Inhaling. Unraveling and bringing you back. Exhale. Last one. relax the arms, just notice the position. If you're particularly grippy here, I would probably switch up into a chair right now so you can take the tension off the quads and have the knees bent even more. Otherwise, the arms will go out to the side. Wiggle your fingers, even though you're looking straight ahead. Can you see the fingers wiggling in your view? And then here, looking to the hand with the gaze. Think book openings. Collarbone wide, space between the ear and the front of the shoulder there. And then as you breathe in, bringing yourself back to center. I'm going to go a little wider with my feet. Exhaling to look, hoping that gives me more of a sense of my heel bones and therefore sit bones. Breath out. And breath in. Willing my right ribs to fall back there. They're showing me some reluctance. And I'm not going to force. I am going to be aware of that reluctance as I'm rotating back to the center and then relaxing the arms. And if, as you're coming through that movement, you feel that's incredibly challenging on the arms to have them out there for 6, then maybe just for 2, maybe just for 4, and then bring them across the body and still get the action of the ribs. So the block is going to go away unless you wanted to keep it for Mermaid. And you're going to turn to face the front. And if you're mirroring me here, the left leg would be in front of you and the right leg would be behind you. It might be that you get here and you think, I don't need anything to give me a lift here. But if you do have a block, I would recommend you try it, just to see how that feels for you. Of course, you're that little bit higher, so as you're then heading side to side, the floor's going to be a little bit further away than it might be. There's no reason why you couldn't have some height here at the side of you as well. We're going to take the continuous mermaid pattern, really demonstrating our understanding of, as we bend the spine to the side, the shoulder blades move, and as we find that centered position once more, we have to have ensured that we have that softened drop on one side and that lift and balance on the other side. And I'll explain that to you as we move. So as I mentioned, this is your left leg in front and your right leg behind you, which means that as you start, you're going to be lifting your right arm. You'll take a breath in. As you lift the right arm, the right shoulder blade is moving outwards and upwards. As you drop onto the left hand, the left shoulder blade is coming downwards and very slightly inwards. You inhale, and they will have to reverse to find that ease in the middle before you take yourself up and over. So you'll inhale, find the balance. The opposite has happened as you've headed over to the other side. So as you're bending up and over to the right shoulder blade is dropping and drawing close to the spine. The left shoulder blade is moving upwards and outwards. And then they have to regroup. They can't stay up there. You find the center of the spine through the middle and you take yourself up and over once more. And then there's this constant reassessing as you find your middle. Can you demonstrate that your arms are starting somewhere much lower down through the lower back? We're not going to shove them, depress them, squeeze them down each time, but you are showing that they're certainly not going to be permanently elevated up towards the shoulders. The last one you do here will be taking you up and over to the right. Find your center, length through the middle of yourself, and relax. Going to switch legs. And just as I did on the first side, right leg in front now, left leg behind. How is that? How is that feeling? There's definitely some resistance here. So how is it feeling? Does it need some time? Or in fact today, could it be that slightly elevating the pelvis is going to help with that reluctance, wherever that may be. You know, it could be through the top of the foot and the toes, the knee. The more obvious area would, of course, be this hip, where this thigh bone is in a very different position to how it might normally live. But see how it feels just to find that. No rush. And then when you're ready, lifting the left arm to start off with. Fingertips reaching up, left shoulder blade has moved out and up. Right shoulder blade, as you meet the floor, maybe even sooner, you could be thinking about the collarbone on the right side widening. And as you know, when the collarbone widens there, the shoulder blade is going to draw towards the spine and inwards very slightly. So lowering as you transfer the weight. And it might be again that you preempt that. So as you did in your book openings when you were rotating, did you notice that the legs were getting lighter? So you sent some breath down there, nice and heavy, just to help you. So as you're transferring up and over to the right side here, are you noticing that the right shoulder is already raised? Could you meet the floor and already have it feeling like it's slipping down the back, sliding in towards you? It's an inhale with ease as you find the middle, and an exhale as you bend. And next time you bend up and over to the left, you are going to pause there and bring yourself up to center. It may very well be, if you took the block away and sat down there, you've created a little bit of give. Might be the same. Let's sort of notice that as you're coming down. We're going to head into a variation of rolling down and rolling up. So you could think of this as a roll up. You'll take a band and you'll have your cushion behind you as well. Sometimes it's helpful, whilst it might appear to look like it's overkill, sometimes it's helpful to have the ball just between the lower legs here. Doesn't quite feel so obvious as it maybe does between the knees when the legs are bent, but you could again try it and see how it felt. The cushion is coming in again close to the lower back. And then the band is going to head around the feet. Now, we have prepped with our rotation, and we're going to look at doing the same here. So you can see just in the starting position that the band is quite tight. As you start to move, keeping the weight through both sit bones, you're going to rotate to the left. And as you exhale, and you can liken this to the corkscrew bridging movement that we did, you're going to start to move down the left side of the spine. You'll find that the left shoulder meets the floor just before the right one does. You're now centered. As you breathe out, send the left shoulder blade into the mat initially, to reach the right shoulder forward to once more give you that feeling of moving up the left side of the spine. Here, I've already experienced a little bit of reluctance through the right ribs to fall back, and this is going to really help as I gently ask them to fall back as I'm rotating, and then tilting the pelvis. It's so slight, but very slightly I'm down the right side of the sacrum and the lower back. You'll see that I've not rolled all the way onto the side of me. Feel the spread of the ribs up the mat, right shoulder blade, perhaps head before left shoulder blade, and then as you breathe out, send the back right ribs backwards. That's the bit of me that is showing a little bit of reluctance. Quite a nice moment then, just to see whether you can feel that in your own bodies as well, depending on how it's all feeling for you. This is about mobility. So if you're thinking, oh, this doesn't feel very hard, I'm not particularly challenged, just know that as you breathe out, transferring to the left shoulder blade, sending the back left ribs back, you are creating more space down one side of your spine in that flexed and rotated pattern as you come up each time. More space, more give, more access to breath. And as you breathe out, last one. To bring you all the way back up to your starting position. So we head into extension, but actually we started in extension up and over the ball. Have the ball close to you. We're going to look at our prone extension to begin with, which I often refer to as a mini swan. But bring the ball along as well. Let's have it towards the front end of your mat as you come to lay down. So if you remember, we've prepped into this movement from hands and knees previously. The hand position as well is by the side of the chest, as wide as your mat. You can start part way between relaxed shoulders and wide collarbones, which brings the head to a hover. The other thing you're thinking about is the center of the pelvis pushing down into the floor. So space between the feet. Take a breath in, and to create length, the crown of the head is going to move towards the ball. The sternum is moving forwards, collarbones widening. And as you breathe out, head back to your starting position. Inhale. Width. Going to go for a little bit more high sternum area, and breathing out to bring yourself back. Breath in, and breath out. Last one. We're going to head into a variation of dart. On the ball, it's going to come underneath the front of you, right in the middle of the chest. If you feel like you need to let a little bit of air out of this, then of course you can. The other thing you might notice is that the head isn't going to start on the floor. So the arms are straight beside you. There is some length through the back of the neck, so it might feel like it's very gently curving there. And then ground the pelvis once more. Take your breath in and reach the crown of the head away from you. Widen through the collarbones. Send the sternum into the ball, which in turn will give you that feeling of ribs really spreading there. And as you breathe out, relax, round it a little more. So pelvis is going to gently push down as the crown of the head reaches away, and then you're gathering the collarbones and widening them. Sternum is pushing forwards. If the backs of the arms feel like they are lengthened and taut, then maybe the fingertips do leave the floor, but you're not leading there. It's an afterthought. Relax down after your last one. And then push yourself up into a child's pose. Rounded position here once more. Back if you long and lengthened. And then unraveling to bring yourself all the way up. Your choice, depending on how comfortable you are in your environment. You could curl your toes under, come into hips high, body down low and loose. And you could take a reverse roll up. If you're not sure how that's going to feel through the back of you, you're going to take a step up. Toes are tucked under behind you. Leg comes forward. There is a tipping forward of the weight of your head as well, and a push through the back toes that in turn can help you heading all the way up. As you breathe out and lower the gaze, you'll send the back ribs back. Knees are softening. Weight is transferring to the balls of the feet. And as you breathe out, there's lifting up to the ceiling that helps unravel. Exhaling. Hanging where I can feel it. Not forcing the body anywhere. And then, of course, opting for walking forward onto the hands to bring you into a plank position. Heels go backwards and downwards. Knees are soft. And there we are. Well done, everyone. Take care.